I'm Krystal Blackard.
And I'm Lindsay Reynolds.
We're seekers of truth, willing to ask the hard questions and cut through the industry smoke.
On Simplified Success, the podcast, we strip sales and marketing down to what actually works, front end to back end, so you can scale without the burnout.
Because real growth isn't just about numbers. It's about optimizing how your business runs so you can grow yourself, grow your paycheck, grow your team, and grow your leadership.
And most importantly, making it all happen without the fluff or the chaos.
This is Simplified Success. Hello, it's Krystal and Lindsay, and we are so excited. Maybe more excited than we've been. I don't know. I hate to say ever because we get pretty excited.
No, I wouldn't say ever, but like,
and
this is like my favorite. It's like my favorite season, and you can create these seasons. They don't have to just happen at the beginning of the year, but like,
no.
It's like the reflection and the realignment and the like kickoff, but like with all of like it's my most favorite energy, and like we do this every quarter, so like, but it's like the beginning of the year one always has a little more potency. I feel like
And just to preface, Lindsay and I are not hype girls. Like we're not. Oh, we're so excited! Ah! No.
I'm definitely high energy, and I'm definitely that.
Yeah.
More than you.
But I would say over the last 2 or 3 months, we stay excited about what we're doing, but we've been like, it's felt really kind of muddled and messy.
Yeah.
Just
behind the scenes. I mean, I'm sure from like the front facing, probably
yeah.
not, but like for us, we've been in like a realignment, for lack of a better
realignment, and we both knew we had to stop for a minute and like kind of process, and we. That's the really cool thing about Lindsay and I. We can have hard conversations. We can talk, and we always maintain respect. We always maintain integrity, and we always get so far. So if just saying like critical conversations are so important in the line of work that we do, because we have really big goals. And when you have really large goals, you have to be able to have like super intelligent, super intentional conversations. And so I want to set up today's, this conversation with everybody with that hanging out, because we are full of joy. We are pretty happy people anyways, but the breakthroughs and the clarity that we've had in the last, I would say 3 weeks, that came from like some pretty like, oh, we've got it. We know this is going to shift. It's like, oh, it's going to be, and we had to like kind of get through that. And the dual like coaching that we push on each other. Like, I'm like, okay, I need my coach Lindsay. And she's like, okay, I need my coach Krystal. Like we lean into each other, and we understand each other's strengths. We know our own weaknesses. And I'm just telling you what we're going to talk about today with the Aligned Life Operating System. This baby that was born out of such necessity, and also,
and like years. Like I think it's important. Like this is something that's been iterated and adjusted.
Yeah.
For I would say at least the last. Because actually, my husband and I were talking about this last night. Was date night, and we were having a conversation around how long we've been doing this process. Version of it. It's continued to iterate and continue to get better and better as we've grown and learned and realized like where we still had gaps. But it's been like in the works for the last 6-7 years. So this is a tried and true method, coming from like all the grades, as well as like our own like life experience.
Right. And I have to really I want to be super mindful of this, because Lindsay and I do work together and we do birth projects. But the Aligned Life Operating System, Lindsay built, like, this is her baby. And she gave it to me, and she's like, I want you to try this. And I was like, this changed my life in like 2 hours. And she's like, no, it did. I'm like, yeah, it really did, Lindsay. Like, I have so much clarity. And she's like, really? I said, yes. And
we're gonna, when you have the right tools.
We're going to get into why. We're going to get into that story, like, because I want to share with you guys, like, some of these nuances, because once you understand what it did, and how it was so different, like, even though Lindsay and I are very much on a parallel journey because we're business partners and we sync up in so many ways, we still are on, like, our life, our seasons of personal life are in different places. Lindsay's raising a little bitty. I've got adult children. Lindsay's been married for 6 years. I'm a newlywed. Like, so our lives are, we're in different places on similar trajectories, right? And so I think it's really important to note that. So,
Yeah, and
okay,
that's,
Lindsay.
that's part of like how it's designed. Like
Yeah.
whether I think that's what's so cool about it is like a lot of these what I would call like New Year type reflection type goal setting is usually very focused on the one person. It isn't
Right.
very well aligned for you to have partners or realignment with other people in your life. And I think that's part of one of the biggest gaps that I had when I was trying to find a good system for me. And so like ultimately we ended up building something over time. And I would say this year's iteration, the one that we're going to have available for you guys, is the best one we have ever had from a partner realignment conversation.
It's actually already available.
Yeah, it's already available. Yeah, it's already available because like of course in our fashion we're just giving it away because we know it's how important it is for you to have something like this. But like with like Ryan and I, like we've done versions of this before, but like I'm extremely like you just like most people. Like when you have like a partner, one of you is probably like the spender, one of you is a saver. One of you is like the really big. I mean, even if you both are goal setters, like Ryan's a goal setter.
In
like,
your relationship, are you the spender or the saver?
That's a cute
I'm just
question.
curious.
Oh, you really don't know?
No, I
My
do know.
husband never spends money ever.
I just want you to articulate it because I think
I am the spender. I own that. But yeah, so like they're like same thing like Ryan like the huge goal setter, like he's all about doing that, but like I'm probably more of an engine when it comes to like all the other things, right? Specific to that. And there's things where he's the engine, like we match. But what's fascinating is when you do this process, it has an individual portion, but it has a realignment. And so that's part of why I wanted Krystal to do it this year, because we are partners and we are walking in life together in our business. And it is important for us to be aligned and on the same page and be able to like be walking in like in lockstep. Otherwise, it's like you're even if you're like a little bit off, 10% off, seems like not very much, but if you're 10% off every day, before you know it, in less than a month, you're walking in like opposite directions.
Right.
And we go fast. Like we both are like engines. We both like to go. And so it's really important that you are walking in alignment. And so like having a tool like this, doing it solo, and then, we brought back together to realign, and like our business runs on scorecards. It's a little bit different of how we like actually tangibly do this. And we're going to talk about that, I think, in TBA when we go through like how you execute this. I think that's where it's going to be, this Krystal side. I know we're going to go through like, once you build your Align Life, like then what? That's a separate conversation. But like when you're doing the Align Life exercise, like it helps you get really clean. But I think the coolest part, we were talking about this last night on the way to dinner, was, have you noticed, we recorded a podcast yesterday. I'm not going to let anything go on it, but it was so good. There was a part where that person was discussing, and this is something that was only in the backstage pass, but talking about the difference between enjoying a destination versus enjoying the whole way in which you get there. And it was a really interesting conversation. And as Ryan and I were having the discussion, I was like, it's crazy because what people forget is that the whole way there is actually your life. It's actually like your life. Like you are writing the chapters of your life every single day. And so the way this Align Life, this is where I think the biggest game changer for us is like, we've had hard years over the last few years. I wouldn't say hard, like hard's all relative, but they've been challenging years. They've been growing years. There's been lots of hard things, both in our relationship, just because of all the change and the new and the hard, and just we've been growing and all the things. But it's interesting because when we sat down, it was so easy to anchor into the celebrations, the memories. And even though you look back on this last year that was challenging in a lot of ways, like the first thing I think of is like we went on a road trip to Vegas because we're crazy and rented a motorhome, and
that was pretty crazy.
That was pretty crazy. We still need to do I have a whole vlog. We still need to put that out.
Yeah.
But like, and the reason why we did that though is because we knew that adventure is important in our family, and we needed to get to Vegas for a wedding, and it was a weekend. I didn't want my 4-year-old walking around. Well, I never really want her walking around the Strip, but I really didn't want her to do it that weekend based on what was going on.
Your 4-year-old walking around Fremont Street?
Yeah, just never really. And the flights were outrageous, and so like because an underlying current that we knew was part of what was important to us was adventure. We rented the Cruise America and drove from Lubbock to Vegas and back in 4 days, right? And so like when I look back at the year, because we do this exercise, because we know we're intentionally aligning our life at a whole like level of like what we want to succeed in and what we want to do from a goal perspective, but also like how we want the chapters of our life to be written with our family and those adventures that we want to have happen throughout the year. Even the hard years are marked by, you know, I got stuck on a flight. Like I got like halfway home to Amarillo, got turned around, had to go back to Atlanta because apparently all of air traffic control was down in Texas. And I got stuck in Atlanta, and everybody in Atlanta was so mad. They were so mad and trying to get other flights. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this as a gift, an extra day in Atlanta. And I booked a really cool hotel. I got my flight to the next day. I went and had the most amazing dinner. And it was like literally one of the anchor memories I had for the year was this really cool boutique hotel. Really like I ordered so ridiculously because they had like these specials. They had like 5 specials, and I was like, oh, I'll take all 4 because 4 of the 5 sounded great. And I was ordering at the bar. That's the only place they could get me in at this particular restaurant. So I'm sitting at the bar. The chef came out because he was like, I like the way you order, but when I saw it was only one person, I was really confused. So like, but this is what I mean. Like, it's an undercurrent of, because I know that I am writing the chapter of my life. And I know I've got all the goals, and I know I've got all the things set to make that happen. But the memories and the adventures and all of that is so important. And when you do this correctly, you get rid of the entanglement, you get rid of the junk that's holding you from being able to enjoy all those pieces, and you create a reality where when you sit down to look in hindsight at your year or the last whatever section of time you're reviewing, you realize how many memories. I mean, yesterday you shared something. I'm going to call you to share it again because I thought it was so timely for this. Is like, because you do these exercises, you realize you're about to walk into a memory before it's happened, and your intentionality of how you do it's different. So like the example you shared, and I would love for you to share it here. I know you're going to hear it at a different time, but is the pizza party. It was a pizza party. It was a Friday night or whatever night, get pizza. So why would that be special? Like, how is that special?
Right. Well, so this last year, Chad and I got married, and we've been together for almost 3 years. But blending a family it's work.
Yeah.
And it's not for the faint of heart, because when you're divorced and there's other parents and stuff involved, there's work involved. And plus we've got 4 girls. So need I say more?
And similar ages too.
Similar ages. And, but the cool thing is we have really cool kids. And so that does help. I mean, I think everybody thinks they have cool kids, but we think we have cool kids.
You guys have cool kids.
We have cool kids. Yeah. And so we had gone to town to get pizza, and we were driving back. And so first of all, Chad and I are very protective of our time together, like our sacred time. It doesn't have to be fancy or special. We just have to have time, and we're pretty particular, like once or twice a day, where we just need to be together. And over the Christmas season, like, man, we were like inundated with family. It was great, but we didn't have our sacred time to just like talk and be humans, except for early in the mornings and late at night. And sometimes by the time then you're like done, you're smoked. Like, Christmas is here. You're doing all the things. You're cooking and cleaning and repeating, right? And Merry Christmasing. So that night we were going to get pizza, and we drove to town, and we stopped. We were turning the corner just fixing to like go down our road to get to our house. And we stopped for a minute, and we just looked at each other, and we were like, we're fixing to walk into our dream come true. Our little home with our girls, happy, at peace, seeing us living our best, like modeling the relationship that we've always wanted to be able to model for our kids. Because in the past we've not had healthy relationships. Like, I think that's why divorce happens, right? You have to leave toxic, and for both of us that was a thing. And so we just sat there for a moment, and we just basked in the fact that we were fixing to go into our house, and it was a dream that we had. Like, we were literally walking into a dream come true for us. And it was so special and so significant. And because we took that moment to acknowledge that was something that we'd been praying towards and working towards and being super mindful and just super intentional about, we were able to just sit there and like laugh and grin and being like, wow, this is so cool. Like, this is literally an answer to one of our prayers, just to be able to make it work well. And we walked into that with such a different posture because we were so grateful. And it was so simple. And it was so like, you could look at that as not a big deal.
We could have walked into it in chaos because it was like, we have 18 more Christmases left. And
right.
we haven't wrapped anything. And like I think it's so important to recognize that when you do this work, it allows you to get more present in the moment and look for the things that you're going to put on your list for the memories that you've created.
Yeah.
The anchor is different.
Yeah, it really does. And it's so beautiful because like to your point, it doesn't, like, when you celebrate it doesn't have to be like what people I think attribute celebrations to are expenses and big fancy, and it's not that at all. In fact, I mean, it can be that. I don't want to say that.
Oh, for sure. And we do that too. Like, we do both. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that. But it doesn't have to be. And sometimes the most significant times in celebrations are the things that kind of just happen organically, and you take a minute and you stop and you just be in that moment. You're not always pushing to get to the next moment. You're just present in that moment. And I think that that's something that's so lost on our society today. And another thing that I wanted to like acknowledge too, because this was something that I thought was really cool over the holiday season, like, as the majority, like, we have kids in their 20s, and then we have a baby who's 12. She doesn't have a phone, so it doesn't relevant for her. But I really noticed that our kids were not on their phones. They were super present in the conversations and hanging out with us. Yeah. And we played games and we did things with them and we talked. And we added a son-in-law to the mix too. Caroline, our oldest, got married, and so we have a son-in-law. And he's a super cool dude. Like, we just really like him, and he's a good fit for our family. But it was just really cool because our kids are even like, we start to see them adopt these really cool values, and they were just like, they hung up and hung out with us, to be super cliche. Yeah. And it was cool. It was really cool.
Yeah. A mentor of mine that really started me on this path of understanding the importance of this, her thing was always, celebration is a party thrown in the name of gratitude.
Yeah.
And I think that is such a important thing to remember. And when you couple that with, like, you're creating the chapters of your life. Like, this is your highlight reel. This is your life. Like, what are you going to do to ensure that this is how you want them to remember you in their highlight reel, and how you want to remember your highlight reel? And when you go through that filter and use a tool like what we are sharing with you guys in the Align Life OS, like, it really helps, like, unmuck all of what it is. I think so. If we talk through, like, what, like, we're talking through this is like my favorite part, is like the celebrations, the memories, all of that. And then people a lot of times go from there straight to planning, straight to the new thing, like straight to, like, because, like, part of what you do is, like, what worked really well, what didn't work as well, what do I want to change? And so they just skip right over to that. And I made that mistake early on in my journey. And what ends up happening, and I say mistake, it's not like it's a huge mistake, but it's missing an extremely crucial step. And if you don't do this crucial step, what'll end up happening is you essentially just keep trying to achieve, and then you don't ever release any of the things and the junk and the limiting beliefs, and you don't ever address those things actively, to where you just keep getting to the same level. Like, you keep trying to go higher, and you incrementally grow, but that's not where the quantum ginormous leaps come from. You have to do this step in the middle. And so I had done this step to an extent, but I will tell you, Krystal, this is like kind of one of her superpowers. She's done it. Just sheer years on the planet doing it has made her fantastic at it. But it's where that Untangled journal kind of comes in. So why don't you talk through a little bit of this, because, like, for a long time you've done, this is what's interesting, and I'm calling it a little bit, you've done the untangled step, and then what's next? You didn't spend as much time in the reflective step, right? Like, and the memories and the those pieces. I spend a lot of time in the reflective memory, and then what's next. And I will say, what we have in the Align Life of what's next, and we'll talk about it in a minute, has iterated to the point where it really supports you doing the celebrations and the memories when you plan it out a certain way. But that untangled step, I always skipped. But that's one you just skipped the celebration part, which also had its negativities.
Right. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. because then you don't, I mean, you could talk through what that looks like for you. So 2 questions. What's the difference between, hold on one second, Mike. Plugged in.
No, you're totally good.
Plugged in, but not all the way plugged in. I know, because I saw it like starting to die, and I was like, why is it dying? It's plugged in. It wasn't. It was like mostly plugged in.
No,
okay, so I have 2 questions. One is, talk about the difference between doing this exercise without that reflection piece, because you've been doing that version for a long time. And then I really want you to dive into, because this is the part where I've vamped up a lot more based on your feedback and what you've said in the untangled piece, and really the whole concept around that. So I'm really, I want you to share.
Okay, so this is really good. And this is where my big breakthrough was, honestly. Yeah. So the celebrations were super cool and super important because it just brought mindfulness and awareness. I think, like, in life, there's just, when your awareness grows and your mindfulness grows, like, you just kind of become unstoppable, right? And you walk in that superpower of, like, your full agency. But what really gave me clarity on this after we went through some of that was identifying the seasons. Holy cow.
Part of the reflection. So like the celebrations, then the reflection.
Yes. And understanding, and I have never done this before. And it completely, I hate to, like, this is so cliche. It changed my life. It changed, and I don't say that lightly.
But it only does because it was the one piece that you were missing.
It did. And it was so interesting. So in the beginning of the Aligned Life operating system, it has you identify the last year's season. And if you would have asked me this verbally, I would have been like, growth. Every year's been growth.
We're always growing. We're always growing.
But that's not true. That's absolutely not true.
It's also not very healthy.
No, and it's exhausting. And so I realized and this was why it was really cool to do this with your spouse, because Chad and I did this together. And we kind of looked at each other and we're like, holy cow, last year wasn't growth. Last year was maintaining. And let me just explain to you why. We got married. We moved Krystal 7 hours, which, okay, so you're like, oh, that's not, no, it's a big deal.
No, it's a big deal to move, period.
It's a big deal.
If you think it's not, you just haven't moved in a long time.
Like, there's pieces, like, it wasn't just a move. Like, I had a ranch and Chad has a ranch. So we just didn't move houses. We moved, like, panels and equipment and stuff and things. And not only did we do that, we flipped houses when we moved because we rolled up my old home into a short-term rental. So then I was like, well, I want this sofa here and I want that sofa there and I want this bed here. And bless my husband, he was like, okay, I'll make it happen, baby. And he did. Like, I'm like, no, I want this mattress, but I want this bed frame and I want this chair there. And like, I'm telling you to the detail because I'm very detail oriented. And I had
so good though. That was that one of your celebrations was the short-term rental?
It is. Yeah. And it's also, that's like super cash flowing. So it's really, really cool. And I was super,
at some point we were going to talk about that on the podcast. But.
Yeah. And I was super reluctant about that because I didn't want weirdos in my home, but it was like, it's not my home anymore. I don't live there. I'm never going to live there again. I'm going to live here because this is where my life is now. But I will tell you, like, that's an overhaul. Like, that's not just a move. That's like a complete, like...
It's a shuffle.
And then we had to clean up the property to get it ready for short term. And then it was a horse hotel. So it wasn't just a move. Like, I want to, like...
and then you have to acknowledge, like, the move of, like, transition for your kids, merging the family. Like, there was a lot.
So there's the physical move. And then there was the emotional move. Correct. And moving my 12-year-old and having her, like, reestablish life here. And then at the same time... my 18-year-old was graduating high school and getting ready for college. And so there was a lot of hardships with that and just that transition. And so there was a lot of moving parts.
And then we were like, hey, let's start a business.
Hey, let's start a business.
That feels like God's calling us to do that. Yeah.
And then Chad and I started another business. We started our power washing business. And I'm like...
Yeah. And then we rolled up our other business that we're working on.
And then we rolled up another business. And I'm like... We were just trying to, like, stay alive, and we thought we
were maintain. It's a maintain season.
And it was interesting. Yeah, so it was interesting. Through the maintain season, we did grow. We had growth through so a lot of growth. But we were really just trying to maintain and, like, bring and like, blend, okay? So we saw that and I was like, oh my gosh, that's why. Because we were like, man, we feel like we should have like moved a little further. We should have gotten a little bit ahead. And I'm like, I'm really proud that we did do what we did and we didn't die. Right? Yeah. That's a little extreme.
Isn't that interesting? Because like if you would have done the reflection, you would have looked back on last year as like, yeah, we got some stuff started, but man, we just didn't really get where we thought.
Right. I would have looked at it as kind of a failure, even though we had growth. And I'm like, no.
So you really like did the reflection. That's why it's structured the way it is. Like you really need to have an honest conversation with yourself and there's a secondary part for your spouse. Like it's important for you to really look at, and then even more importantly, what are you walking into? But let's talk about the. Well,
let me say one more thing though.
Okay, go. Yes.
Okay, one more thing. We couldn't. So this year, 2026 is definitely a season of growth for Chad and I, and we completely see that. But we wouldn't have been able to walk into a season of growth had we not got through that maintaining and blending season well. Yeah. We had to do that well before we could go into a season of growth. And holy cow, now we feel so prepared. And Lindsay, I'm telling you, if we hadn't seen that, like if you hadn't been able to like that's one of your zones of geniuses is being able to like reverse engineer things to where you get to the exact problem of it. But that right there gave us so much clarity. And it didn't take us 20 minutes to execute that together with the Align Life operating system. It was so cool. Okay.
No, go ahead. That's amazing. Okay. So this is the part, and I'll be honest, like I haven't fully done this for the season yet because it's something I just, as much as I'm growing in this part, this is a really hard thing for me. Mostly because I think the way I'm wired, I'll outwork it. And there's a real negative side to that. So like, I'm being completely transparent. Like, do I still do these exercises? Sure.
But you're human?
Yeah. Oh. But, and I fully believe in doing this work, but it is the work that I will always put off. And it is the work and this is always a good thing for you to notice for yourself. Because the thing that you do this with is probably the thing you probably need the most. But I think in my brain, and this is, you can even coach me live on this. I feel like it takes forever and I don't like sitting in it because it's not comfortable for me. But why don't you talk through this? This is a very crucial step you do in between. So you do this reflection, you do the celebration, you anchor in the memories. Like on New Year's Eve every year, Brian and I go through our phones and we pull up videos, and we did this with Hadley this year, which was really cool because she's big enough to know. And we like watched videos of our different memories from throughout the year to like really like anchor in these like what a great year we had, mixed in with like a lot of hard, right? Like we didn't like skip the hard, but like so you do that, you do your reflection. Then here's the step that I reluctantly do. Clearly not as good as I should. So why don't you talk through this part, Krystal? Because this is really something that is a muscle that you actually always go to.
The release, that's what you're talking about, right?
The untangled, that whole section of just like untangling and releasing and just the release. Sorry.
So a big part of this was, and honestly, the way it was interesting because the way you prefaced it in the Aligned Life was the friction points, right?
Yeah.
And those point you to what you've got to release. And so, through just like, I think really good habit, Chad and I are really good to, like when we have a disagreement, because we do disagree. We're both type A, we're very strong-minded people. We do disagree. Absolutely. Yeah.
Krystal and I disagree sometimes too.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But when we disagree, we don't burn it down, and there's a big difference. We don't burn things down.
And I think what's so great is like we were talking about this before the podcast, like we just challenge each other in like the most kind way, but I'm like, yeah, no, I don't agree with all of that, but I agree with this part. And then you're like, okay, well, let me say, like we just like it's so fun. But yeah, I digress.
Yeah, and I think that's a really highly emotional set of skills. Like high emotional intelligence is super critical for all of us in like our little circle and how we do things, because you're never going to agree with one person fully, even if you're married to them. I can attest to that. And that's okay. So Chad and I, through just reverse osmosis, are really good at like releasing things and moving forward and owning our stuff. Okay. Super, super important, because if you let unforgiveness and resentment like stew because you don't acknowledge it and you can't talk through it and you can't come into a conversation owning what you did, like oftentimes people want to come in and be like, you did this, you did this, you did this, and it made me do this. No, completely wrong. We've got to come into things thinking, I take responsibility for my part of it. That's all I can do. And when you do that, you open up the heart of the person that you're talking to, so that then they can say, you know what? I see what I did. Thank you for acknowledging your part. Now we can move on in resolution, right? That's how you manage conflict well. There's a lot more. It's really in depth in the journal. Like, grab the journal; it's free. Walks you through that process, because it's really easy for me just to hit those high notes. But there's a process to it. It's really boils down to unforgiveness. But the way you positioned it in the Align Life OS was talking about the friction points, and this was so interesting because it did very much align with the journal, and I know that was very intentional. But when we started talking about the friction points, so you do this kind of separately, right? And then you talk about it, and it's completely like.
Yeah, that's how it's designed. So you do a portion on
and there's no judgment.
Together.
You just get to be real, and you get to talk about, like, because you don't like when you're sitting there, you don't have to be like, well, I think this is no. You just answer it for you. Well, when Chad and I talked about our friction points, they were different, and it was interesting because I was like, oh, what is friction point for you is something that I'm not good at. And so what we talked about was because sometimes friction points run into arguments with partners, spouses, whatever. So then when I saw that, I thought, I'm not good at this, and I'm kind of weaker here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take your lead on this, and when you bring this up, I'm just going to say, baby, I know you got my back, and I know you see this better than I do, and thank God, because you're my leader. And so I just so we just decided, he just leads on those friction points. And then the same for me. He was like, oh yeah, you're really good at that. He's like, I'm just going to acknowledge that and be like, hey, what do you think we should do there? And it is uncanny. It is uncanny that the small conflicts that we've been able to avoid, just acknowledging our strengths and weaknesses and understanding that we have friction points as humans. And then we, of course, we're like, we really operate in that journal and the release, like that process. So we don't hang on to things, and man, like, we can move fast, we can get things done. And the best part of it is it doesn't steal our joy. It doesn't rob us of our bandwidth. We don't have these monumental fights. We have small disagreements that we work through really quickly, and then we get back to joy. And I'm talking, like, life has been kind of stressful. Like, we've had some stuff and things.
Yeah.
But because we stay above it and we've got our faith implemented, we don't hang on to resentment. Man, it just, and the way it positioned in the Align Life, Lindsay, the way you, like, put it all together, it rocked my world, and it gave me so much clarity.
Well, and I think when you think about this untangled stuff, right? And like the things you're holding on to, I think what people don't fully realize, and to your point, like, how much energy it steals from you. You only get so I have a Garmin app watch. I don't know if people have Apple watches. Garmin watch, the way the Garmin watches function, they have what's called a body battery. Okay. Mm-hmm. So depending on your movement and your sleep quality, like if you wear it when you sleep, it tells you how much body battery you have for the day. And then the only way you can get more body battery really is sleeping. Like, that's the only way you can really refill your body battery. And then how stressed you are throughout the day takes away from it. And so it's interesting because a handful of people that I am around a lot all have these watches. And so we've been discussing the effect of different people on your body battery and different situations, right? And there's just being honest, because the body, because it's tracking your heart rate.
You drain my body battery. I have to get off this call.
No, literally. That was part of the conversations we were having, is like, does so-and-so have that same impact on your, so it was a really interesting conversation. But in part of that, there's one particular person in my circle who's really good at his body battery. He's so good at it. He gets to 100 every day, which is like nearly impossible if you've ever tried to do this. Like, you have to work out well. You have to not be stressed. Like I don't even know. I
want a Garmin watch.
The Garmin watch is it's a bomb. It's amazing. So we were having a discussion, and so I thought it was normal. So this is where this is really interesting and important for you to recognize. So the lowest it'll go is 5. Okay, that's the lowest your body battery will hit to, is 5. And I was like emptying the tank every day. I thought that was normal. Like, I would get to 5 at like 3:00 in the afternoon, and I'm like, perfect, right? I was only like putting value on how full I could get it. I'm like, oh, I started at 80. That's a great way to start the day. And then tank it to 5. So it was funny because we were having a conversation, and he gets his to nearly 100 every day, and he ends his day at like 30 or 40. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? So then I start asking a lot of people in that circle, like, okay, well, what's yours at? And what's yours at? And so this is why this is a full circle. This is completely off topic, but it's really not, I promise.
No, I know where you're going with this. I'm excited.
So this is where this is really important. And I'm still working on this. But I just go 9-0, and our personalities are completely different. This person is like the most stabilizing this, and I'm high energy. So by default, like that has to be included in the conversation.
For sure.
But taking that aside, when you don't work through some of this stuff and you are carrying the resentment, it underlying is actually affecting your heart rate. It's affecting your brain. It's affecting your energy. And it is stealing from your body battery. And you only get so much. And so, and this is where I know you only get so much in a day. And the only way you can get it back is naps. And unless your life allows you to take naps throughout the day, you know, there you go. So I think it's a really fascinating thing to think about in real life. Like, I mean, obviously this is all real life, but what are you carrying that's actually stealing your real time? Like, what are you carrying that's stealing your energy in real time? Like, what is taking it? Or you don't even know it's doing it. And I think that's where, and this is probably why I avoid this, because being completely frank, you guys have seen my life. I have a tendency to overstack, and that's something I'm working on for this year. Is like one of my big 5, which you guys will know what this means once you go through this.
Yeah, this is cool.
Yeah, is white space. Like I am clearing some stuff out. Not that I'm not doing things, but I'm creating more space. Part of why I don't like doing this is because I feel like it takes a long time, and I don't want to feel yucky for a long time, which is like such an interesting reason to avoid something, or not do something like I should. And I still, it's hilarious. I'm gonna work on it next week because I'm gonna be in a hotel. But like I haven't walked through it this portion yet. I skipped it. I need to do it. I know.
Really?
I'm being honest. I haven't because I need time to sit and do it. I can't do that in 30 minutes. Like I need to sit really and to do it well. And so I am going to do it out of integrity. I know that what I've set for my big 5 is completely accurate, but for me to hit it the way I want to, I need to invest this time. And so recognize that you can do what I did. I don't know that I recommend it. You should do it in the right order. Even there's a reason why it's built the way it is. Not saying that doing what I did is the wrong thing. Part of for me is I only have so much time, and I have a lot of people waiting on me to set their goals because of how our team is structured and stuff with Rael and stuff.
You're very much a leader in that aspect.
I'm a leader in a lot of places.
And when you lead a lot of things. But that's interesting too to talk about when we get, because I want you to talk about your seasons, because our seasons were very different. Even though we're business partners, our seasons, okay, so keep going. This is really good.
So once you go through it, you talk about what season you're walking into, and you set what your big 5 are. Your big 5 filters of like your pillars of your life, right? And then from there, you have a few goals underneath them and all of the things. And we'll talk more about implementation later once you get through the process. But what I think is really interesting is, so you do this solo, and then you get together with your partners. And so Brian did his solo. I did mine solo. We do this on New Year's Day. That's what we do for our family. And we went through it. And then I wanted Krystal to do it because I wanted to be able to have a similar conversation with her. So
well, actually, how that went down is you're like, check out what we did, and I was like, holy banana pants, I want to do this too, and you're like, great, because I was going to ask you.
I was going to ask you because it's important from an alignment perspective. Because the bottom line is, like, we're partners in a business. We have a mini marriage, and we need to be clear on the things that where we're going, right? And I knew, so I'm in a different place than both of my partners in this example, right? So like Krystal being my business partner, Ryan being my husband, I am in a season of pruning. Like one of my big 5 is to lead from where I'm at. So lead really well, but not take on more responsibility really anywhere.
And let me just say this. Let me just say this about Lindsay. Yeah. Anybody that knows Lindsay knows that is one of the hardest things for her, because Lindsay is so genius at so many things. But one of Lindsay's biggest geniuses is coming into any sort of project that's a mess and cleaning it up. And she loves doing this stuff. And she's a genius at it. But it's also one of those places where she's having to be like, I cannot take on everything because it steals her white space. And so I want to call that out, because I think in life, a lot of us do that in different capacities. And to your point, like, so I want to connect these dots. It's a little bit of a way to avoid what you're avoiding. Right? And it's not bad, but you just said, this is hard for me. I don't enjoy this because it's like, and so this is where you're having to push to close a gap. Okay. Sorry.
I'm really forcing it in my big 5. I mean, I have something around, there's some stuff in our businesses, both this business and our family business. Like I wanted to run without some of the chaos. Like there's some things, and not that I'm saying that we're chaotic. It's really not. But like I wanted to feel.
There's always chaos until, like, I mean, it's always a perpetual journey of getting rid of chaos. I mean, there's just
yeah. So I'm not speaking to like, oh, is it But like when you're running a business with multiple team members and multiple things, like it's always like you always want to optimize and make that
Right.
run smoother and smoother.
Right.
You know, so I'm going through my big five, but like one of my big fives, when I did my reflective work, again, I know I skipped my releasing work and I will do it. I promise. She didn't know I had skipped it. Like you could tell on her face. She didn't know I had, because part of it is too, for me, that work is, it's so important, but it's also uncomfortable and it's not something I can get interrupted.
Right.
I need to be in it. And this is where you have to be honest with yourself. I have a almost 5-year-old. I have a husband. I have multiple businesses. And to the same argument, like leading where I'm at well means I needed to get clean on where I was going and what my goals were so I could set our scorecards so that the team knew where they were going, so I could give them all give everybody what they're waiting from me on. Right. And then now that all of that's set, I can really go through and say, okay, what's the gap? What's the friction? Now that I know. So I don't know that it's as imperative if it happens in this order, but man, you got to do it.
Well, and I want to point something out to what you're saying. So hence the reason why you're in a season of pruning, because you can't find time to do your release. And that's why you've got to be in a season of pruning, because that release and being able to perpetually, constantly, because that's not just like a 1-year thing. Like you got to be releasing.
We do this regularly, and that's part of it. Like
you get better at it. Like once you grow that muscle, you don't have to like use the guidebooks and stuff. Like I could do it in my sleep. I have to think about it, have to calm down, have to drink some water. I can do it in my sleep because I've grown that muscle. Now there's other muscles that I haven't grown. But hence the reason you're in a prune. And I'm so proud of you, Lindsay. Like this is point in case why I love working with you and doing things with you, because you're so self-aware. And self-awareness is so attractive in a human. In a prune. I try. Okay, keep going.
But I think what's fascinating, so when I sat down and I knew, so my husband has made the step to lead our custom home building business. He left his traditional job to be a leader in that business. And so he's in this huge growth season, right? He's growing as a leader. He's growing this business. Like, and so I knew, and Krystal is also same. Like she's already made very clear, and I know this because I talk to my people all the time. I knew she was going to be in a growth season because I know what's going on with her and Chad and their businesses and what they have going on. Like they are they've done so much maintaining, so much preparing, so much building. KL is in a huge growth season. The things we have planned and the things so I knew that. But what's fascinating and what I think is important for you to recognize is that you can exist in my world. I am being hyper intentional in a season of pruning. It doesn't mean I'm not doing things. So when you go through this, like what I'm doing from a pruning perspective is I'm running it through a tighter filter of, is it going to steal my white space? Is it going to make me a better leader? Right. I think this interesting thing happens. Everyone tells you to take the opportunities, go, move, make it happen, work hard, show what you can do. Inevitably what ends up happening, and no one warns you about this, no one talks about it enough, so I'm just going to call it out. You get to the point, so the filter I used to use was, does this move me forward and towards my goals? And is this a good thing to do to help others or help the community or whatever? What ends up happening is when you do that well, every opportunity you get is a yes. The problem with that is that every opportunity is a yes. And so you end up feeling like, oh my gosh, now I don't know what to do, and what if that's the wrong one to say no to, so you, at least for me, this has been my life experience of like, I have every opportunity that comes to my desk sounds fun, it's in alignment with my skill set, it builds on my strengths, and it's super great for the world, and I would love doing it, but I can't do all of them.
Okay, so let me tell you the filter that I've always used. I don't know if we've ever talked about this.
Okay.
So how I get to a yes or a no is I ask myself, can I commit to this physically, financially, emotionally, and spiritually? Is it going to rob from me spiritually? Like, is it going to run into my time where I spend time with God?
Yeah.
If it does, it's a no. Can I commit to it physically? Can my body physically take on the work? I don't know. Financially, can I financially afford to spend my time doing this? Right? Emotionally, do I have the emotional bandwidth to commit to this right now, or is it going to take from my priorities with my family and God and my so that has been such a game changer.
Especially when you have your big five laid out. Like if you know what your big five are, and your big five, for the record, you guys, when you guys go through this, the big five doesn't necessarily change a lot. The goals underneath your big five can, but the big five is not, it's the core stuff. And might have changed a little bit this year because I'm putting a bigger priority on white space. I'm putting a bigger priority on leading from where I am and fulfilling the commitments I've made without adding more responsibility. And so I think as you go through it, it's going to look different for you. Once you guys go through it, jump over in the community, the Simplified Success community. Share with us what you guys are, what you're noticing, what you're seeing. I know we're going to be doing. I don't know when this is launching comparatively. There might already be a whole overview of like a walkthrough of how to do it. By the time this launches.
So kind of the actual tool for the Align Life, so that you can go through the process, is actually live.
Right.
You know, you can grab that if you're seeing this. It's going to be in the show notes.
Yeah.
When this releases, we'll have already done the masterclass.
Okay. Cool.
So that's going to be live,
and that'll be in the community, or you'll get to download the if you
download the PDF, then you're going to get access to everything because Lindsay and I, like, so here, and also just, this is really important. Lindsay and I don't put stuff out there that hasn't helped us. Like, so we're really mindful, like everything we produce and give away for free.
Something we use.
Probably charge a lot of money for. But for some of these things, like, we're like, we want people just to grow. And if, like, so it's almost a catch-22, because it's like, if you don't pay for it, sometimes you're not like as apt to use it. You know what? That's on you.
This is worth thousands. I'm not kidding. Like, I don't know if we have an actual value stack of what, probably somewhere, but this exercise can make you hundreds of thousands of dollars in money, but more importantly, can help you live a life where you actually notice sitting outside in your garden watching your kid play with chalk.
Okay, that's a really good call. Hold on, I want to grab that again.
Yeah.
Because most people really care about this, and this is something that's going to speak to a lot of people. Two things. This can create the financial stability that you're looking for. Really can. It will if you do it properly. It absolutely will. Yeah. And this is going to make you super present with your family, which are probably your two biggest priorities, because from there, everything else will fall in alignment. Just saying. Okay. Sorry, that was good.
But I think that's important. That's why it's not called go make $100,000 blueprint. Go make $1 million blueprint. It's not. Yeah. It's more. It's about your aligned life. It's about it being aligned in all the places and living a fulfilled, well-rounded life, while also making $1 million, if that's even a goal for you, but making big money, or having these events. It helps you to ensure that your life is aligned with what feels like you're called to right now. And you go through realignments, and like, we'll talk about this. I think it's wherever Krystal tells me in TV, wherever we're talking about this. But we do quarterly reviews, you do monthly reviews, you do weekly check-ins. Like, there's things that you do to ensure that you're still along the path and that you can adjust. So when you do aligned life exercise, it can be done at any point. It doesn't have to be done in a new year. Like, we recheck and we realign and we adjust. And I think that's an important part to remember. But it's super, like, I can't articulate how important it is to go through an exercise like this to just realign.
Well, yeah. And we do get into the maintenance piece of it, because there's no point in doing it if you're not going to keep it up, and you're not.
Doing it and putting it in a drawer is like great, and it works. I think Quitter's Day was last week. I think. That's not what this is, and again, we're launching at the beginning of the year, but it's not a beginning of the year exercise. So if you're listening to this podcast and it's June, go download it. Like, this is a realignment that can be done at any point and should be.
Yes.
And when you do the realignment right, the energy, so this is what I think is really interesting. The energy of a new year always has this potentiality. It's like, oh, what can I do? What can we do? You can recreate that energy doing this exercise at any point. This does not only have to be done at the top of a year. And so I think it's important for you to recognize that the energy of a new year has more to do with what you input and what you believe and your potentiality and what you reflect on and what you're excited about than it actually has to do with a day switching over and writing the wrong day for the next 3 days. Wrong year. It has nothing to do with the actual year. It's the meaning we put behind it. You can put that same meaning behind this exercise at any point.
Right.
So just throwing that out there.
Yeah. No, completely.
You need a realignment. This is a place. This is the thing.
It's so good. It's so powerful. I'm so excited about this. I'm so excited about, again, take it or leave it. It is our free gift.
Oh, yeah.
It's wise to take it, but I personally am I'm so happy for the clarity that it's brought me, because I feel like and like you said, your goal is white space. I have white space. I'm really, and I have been in places where I had to do some pruning to get to that point. That's the reason I knew that was a thing. But for me, I realize we're in a very much of a season of growth across the board, but being very intentional. And so that muscle of like maintaining white space is something that I have. I've built that through like fiery trials and like hell.
Right.
But here we are.
Yeah.
This is the way it is. You don't have to do that, but the focus on the steps that we're gonna do to get to the growth, which the growth creates security. Security creates potentiality. And when you live in a world of potentiality, like it becomes uncanny the things that you can do. And so creating that engine, because essentially that's what it is. It's an operating engine, operating system. That's why we called it that, by the way. We didn't call it like framework or it's a map. No, it's an operating system. And that was intentional. 100%. And we pushed on that. We pushed on that.
Push on it, but that's what it is. I mean,
operating system sounds really, and Lindsay's like, but it is.
But
and
it's a system,
right?
Yeah,
You're
and
right.
like when you do the quarterly audit, when you do the monthly review, and you do the weekly alignment, like it's a system.
Yeah, it's very much a system. So it's good. It's good stuff, Lindsay. I'm so excited.
We're excited for you guys to have it. So at this point, go ahead and download it's in the show notes. And then you'll get our whole masterclass of exactly like right now we talk through like conceptually, but we'll actually walk you guys through page by page all the things of how to actually not page by page, but
do a lot of
concept by concept for you guys to be able to know exactly how to use it and how to get the most out of it. And that's just our gift because honestly, like the more people who are aligned for their life in the world is just better for the world. And we invested in money and time and things to be able to have this way, but like it's. Man, it's just so important for you to have it that like I want everyone to be able to have it. So
I agree. And so we have some really cool things coming from this. Like this is a really good trajectory of what the season's going to look like. A lot of moving parts. So cool. Well, thank you, Lindsay. Thank you for your gift to the world. This was amazing, and thank you for the intuition to build this and do it like you did. It's pretty cool.
Thanks. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what you guys think. So definitely jump over to the community. Give us feedback. Let us know what worked. Let us know what's hard. Let us know what's confusing. If any of like the directions don't make sense or, they make sense to us, but if there's something that like, you're like, I don't really understand how to do this. Can you give me an example? Like give us some feedback. We'll adjust, we'll iterate, we'll help you. But all of that can come over in the community, or as always, you can DM either of us or any of our social media platforms. We as in human beings are behind those. So if you ever DM us on any of our social media platforms, we will respond. We or someone from our team, a real human, will be behind that. So always shoot us a message, whatever, if you have questions or if you have feedback. If we need to make adjustments, we're happy to. We want this to be a great tool for you guys. So
absolutely.
Thank you. And we can't wait to hear what you guys think.
Yay.
If today's conversation helped you see your business more clearly, make sure you hit follow so that you don't miss an episode.
And if you're ready for more support, join us inside the free Simplified Success community. It's where we share resources, strategies, connections, and you really get to hang out with a lot of cool other growth-minded entrepreneurs.
Simplify your strategy, multiply your results, and make it happen. This is Simplified Success.